Welcome to the April update. I've got a bunch of little projects to show you, so stick around and we'll get right into it. First project that I've been working on, this has actually been, it's the latest project I've been working on, it's been taking the most time, is this scratch-built structure, which I'm super pleased with. Tonight I got the doors and windows put in, but it's scratch-built from more of the, I forget, it's the cheap embossed styrene that I had of wood paneling, and I reinforced it with just flat styrene, and I'm not sure what the thickness is, but it's too thin, but I made it work and reinforced it with a bunch of stuff. But I'm super pleased with the structure as a whole. It started off as just like this L structure, and then this weekend I added this little extension, and I kind of wanted to give it the look that this part here was the original structure, or part of the original structure, and was built off of. So I added a hand-carved stone foundation next to the concrete one. I'm still working on the landscaping of how it sits in there. I dug down onto the table surface through the sculpt mold, so it kind of has its own little resting spot, which I don't know if that's going to work or not. Initially the platform was too high. Now it may be too low, so I might have gone in too low. But I think probably lower is probably better than too high, because that seems to me like it would make more sense that it would be possibly too low for box cars, where you could have a ramp that goes up to them. But if it's too high, that just seems like poor construction in the real world. So that's what it is. I may raise it at some point, but I'm not sure, because the stone structure just sits flat on that part. If you can see, it's raised up above the concrete. The concrete sits in to the sculpt mold. So it works. I like it. I think I can just fix that if I just landscape around it. I'm thinking of having this fence here or something like that to kind of separate the side of the building from the road. But I don't know if I'm gonna have gravel all the way up to here. I'm not sure. I can never figure out the gravel in the grass or turf areas. I feel like I'm always changing them, which I did here on this structure. So that's my latest project. I got to get the roof. I got to get shingles. I need shingles for this one that I finished. So yeah, so I'm pretty psyched with this. I kind of freelanced it, kind of made it fit the corner here, so it kind of sits nicely in that space of the two tracks. So I'm super pleased with it, and that's one bit. And then the structure that was there was this one, and I'm thinking of keeping this probably in this area, and then adding one or two other structures similar. Probably DPM kits maybe, because they work really well in short spaces, and then having a road that runs along the main line here. But I'm not 100% sure, and then having an industry on this track and then another industry on that back track. So I'm still figuring out this area. I've been toying with moving this structure up onto the hillside, but I really like the idea of having a church up there and keeping it more country, and it doesn't really fit in this area as well as I would like it to. So I think that's going to be it for the structure. So that's it for that. Another little project that I've been working on is I redid this back part of the turf. It was just on plaster wrap, I think, and it kind of lifted up from the wood underneath. So this is just now all sculpted mold. It's solid, it's not going anywhere. and I added a little foundation piece here for this scratch-built trackside roadside structure. I'm not sure what it's going to be, but again, that was the first scratch-built project that I had undertaken or undertook. So it's pretty simple. It's got, I think, what does it have? I don't even remember how I made it. Two windows and a door, and that's pretty much it. It sits nicely in this little space. I don't know what the purpose of it is yet, but I redid the ground underneath it and built a structure. It needs shingles as well, or some kind of roofing, and I kind of feel like artistically it's too bright for this space. I know that's going to sound a little ridiculous, but if I come around, it doesn't, I feel like it sticks out too much. So if I come around and show what it kind of looks like, I feel like it just kind of sticks out like a sore thumb out there. The video doesn't do it justice because it's kind of hitting at a wide angle here. There, it doesn't stick out as much on the camera, but seeing it there, obviously if I put turf around it and static grass and things like that, it will help blend it in, but I think it might be a little bit too bright. I'm not sure, so I might change the color, but I like the position, the size, and how it works, and it was my first scratch build, so that's awesome. So that's that little project. Another little mini one night project that I've undertook and then kind of forgot about it and got too sidetracked with my larger scratch build over here, was working on the wood surface of my flat cars. This area in here on the lift out is probably most likely going to be a lumber yard of some sort. That was kind of my intention from the beginning on this track. So I worked with two different colors. I don't know if I like the fact that they're two different colors or if I like one better than the other. I forget the two techniques that I used. But they're kind of, at this point, mock-ups. And then I wanted to essentially work on lumber loads. Nothing crazy, nothing like completely full and stacked, but some kind of, small industry lumber load for both of them. So I've been working on those as well. I need to stain them and assemble them and cut more. But that was one little project that I had worked on one night. I think I had done this one initially and didn't like the color, so I redid it, and then I approached this one slightly different, so it resulted in a different look. It's coming up much brighter on the video than it is in real life, so I kind of like them the way they are, but it's like a work of art and it's never done. So, but that was another little mini project that I had worked on. Another little mini project that I worked on was getting the end of this oil industry track, the Featherstone oil, that had, I forget, I think it was just a gap there. There was the track, I had extended and I dug out the styrofoam that's under there, and so it was just there was nothing underneath that little last piece of track, and it was you could see the styrofoam, so I added actual sifted dirt, some turf, and finished that little area up. It looks a little weird because you can obviously see, whoops, my finger, you can obviously see where, the little piece starts and ends, with that gap in the sleepers and, the rails and ends of the rails and things. So I'll probably, because it's the end of the line there, I will probably add some tall grass and things to kind of make it like it doesn't get used much. But that little extension was extremely valuable. I forget if I had mentioned it on a previous update, but it allows me to fit, I think 4 oil cars there, or tanker cars, I forget. I think it was 4 it allowed me, and I was just shy of being able to fit 4 until I extended that. So that works. It actually, you can see it probably on the video, but it actually kind of bends upwards a little bit, which is not the best, but it's the end of the line. It's not going anywhere. Trains don't have to run on it. It's just one truck is going to sit on it. So it serves its purpose. It's you know, it's good, but I probably need to add some more shrubbery so it kind of blends in a little bit better. The way the rail is picking up the light too, it really kind of separates that little piece, but it's a small, minor little thing. If you stick a car on there, you don't notice. So if I put that here, you know, you don't notice, really. So it looks pretty good. I could probably add ballast there. The ballast probably ends a little bit too quick. I don't know. Now that I'm looking at it, I don't like it, but whatever, it's good. But that was another mini project. And the last little project is actually a major project that's going to be my next undertaking after I finish this structure, so that I've got a roof on there. I will start to paint the track on this extension part. I painted this section here. It looks a little too light probably. If I weather it with some Indian ink washes and things, that might help tone it down. But I'm going to hand paint the rest of this track, so that way I can start ballasting. I think I started to paint this section here. Actually, yeah, I did. And this section actually doesn't look too bad. But I'm gonna mix up a bunch of paints and have kind of more of a consistent look to it. I guess it's probably more realistic if they're not fully consistent, but I don't know, this looks too light, and this looks, I think, much better, but I can't remember. What I try to do when I paint large sections of track is have a workable palette that I can work from, as opposed to having to mix new colors every time, because then I just feel like it's too inconsistent. So I'll get that set up, get the track painted on this section, and then I will start ballast, and then I will be good to start actual full out scenery. Oh, the other thing that I did, which was a major project, was I raised the ground level in between the two mainline tracks and the two siding tracks back here with sculpt mold, so that way the track is level with the ground. It just makes things look less mainline and more yard-like, which this whole table, that's kind of the purpose of it. So it just has a less trafficked feel. I don't know the actual prototypical reasons for having elevated track. I know for drainage, and that's why the ballast is there, but you know, in the yard you usually don't see it raised like you would on a main line in open country. So I'm not fully aware of all of that prototypical stuff, but I know that I've seen, you know, lots of layouts and sections of the real world where the track is more level with the ground, so that's what I was going for on this table. On the other side of the double bridge, it'll be raised normally like it is throughout most of the rest of the main line. But again, you know, this yard, it's all track level with the ground. So that's that project. I just finished turfing it last night, I think. I forget. I was working on a bunch of stuff last night, so I finished turfing it just to get a base layer down. And then there's, you know, still little gaps here, but I'll probably fill that in with either dirt or ballast or the like. And I have this section here that I need to fill in. I've been using hand sifted dirt from my yard for in between here and underneath there, and kind of like the way it looks. So, and I also use the hand sifted for like the ends of the tracks, which I kind of like. It gets darker once I add the glue, which I'm not too pleased with, but I kind of like the look of it mixed in with the ballast. So, and then that brings me to the last thing, which is ballast, which I got I have two different kinds of ballast that I have to work with. I need more of the Scenic Express, but the fine ballast from Woodland Scenics, I think, is smaller than the Scenic Express number 40. And they're pretty comparable. The colors are a lot different. The Scenic Express is a lot darker. You can see that compared to this. This is gray, And if I go overhead, you can kind of see the difference. And I feel like the Scenic Express is larger, maybe because there's more of a variety in color, or that the contrast shows up a little bit better because it's darker. With the varying material, it shows up better. It looks bigger. I'm not really sure. If I do a side-by-side, I think there's bigger pieces in the number 40 than the fine. I know I did tons of research when I went with the 40. So if that helps anybody out looking at Woodland Scenics Fine versus Scenic Express number 40, you can kind of see the difference. I could probably take a second here and show you side by side if I take a little bit out of each. So the Scenic Express is on the left. I'm sorry, the Woodland Scenics is on the left and the Scenic Express is on the right. And you can see the color difference. The gray is a lot lighter than the dark gray, but that makes sense because that's dark gray and that's gray. But you can see the size. The number 40 does look a little larger than the fine. So if you're going for a smaller ballast and you want to work with Woodland Scenics because it's a little bit more easily accessible in many areas, the fine is probably a good size for HO. I like the 40. It works well. That's what I've used for my whole layout so far, and I think it looks pretty good. I think the fine will be good as well. I forget what I was gonna say in regards to that. You can mix them, but I know that Woodland Scenics is a lot more accessible. Oh, I think the Woodland Scenics is lighter. I think it's not real stone maybe or something. I forget. I think that's what one of the advantages of the Scenic Express was, because it's from natural stone aggregate. That's what the thing says. And I think it sits better because it's a little heavier. But if you use alcohol, and I use matte finish Mod Podge glue and water, and it works really well. You got to break the surface tension. I tried wet water. I don't like it as much as just 70% isopropyl alcohol, but I don't have a ton of experience yet with this. Once I put this down, I might do an update on whether this stuff floats around too much, because it is not natural stone. But I think it should be okay, especially if I use the alcohol like I did with this stuff, because the weight does matter. But I don't think it's going to matter that much. But this is smaller and it probably is lighter, so it might float around a little bit more than the Scenic Express. I know I just talked way too long about ballast, but I know I can never get answers that I want when I research this stuff, so hopefully that was valuable information or a bit of information for somebody. So that's it for the April update. This is a busy month. I just changed schools, so I wanted to get this done when I had a minute. So stay tuned for what's coming up next, May update, and that should be coming out in May, because this is the April update coming out in April. So happy April. Take care, be good, and we'll see you next month.